Good morning. Yes, it's quite a lovely atmosphere to see all the smiles. I am the program director of the day, so I'm hoping that I will steer this ship in a wonderful way and keep the smiles on your face. I would like to welcome you to Freedom Park on behalf of the CEO, Dr. Jane Famadi. Freedom Park, our beautiful world heritage, our beautiful heritage site, where we commemorate and honor the heroes and heroines of our liberation struggle. I would like to acknowledge, before I go any further, the few that are in our midst, HOD of Corporate Services at Freedom Park. This occasion has got distinguished guests. We've got your Royal Highnesses, your Prince and Princesses. We have members of the media. We have our dear friends of Freedom Park, the members from our arts and culture that have honored this event. We would like to say, welcome to this special event of Africa Day celebration at Freedom Park. Later on, we will be joined by the different missions, the diplomatic corps, who will be then going through our exhibitions. So just to inform you that your excellencies from the Kingdom of Eswatini, the Chargé d'Affaires from the Republic of Congo, and the Chancellor of the Republic of Iran would be in our midst. Without wasting much of your time, ladies and gentlemen, may we all rise for the national anthem.
to fight together.
Thank you very much. You may be seated. I would like to just remind you a very important aspect. Freedom Park could not let the Africa Day go uncelebrated. No matter how busy we are in this kind of time in our country, we recognize and acknowledge the beauty and the diversity that Africa has. And for that reason, before I steal the show from the next speaker, we said we will celebrate Africa Day. We will make our voices heard and known to the diaspora that Africa is an important continent. And Freedom Park is the perfect institution to send that message. Without wasting much of your time, I would like to call on stage Mr. Consol Tliane, the HOD of Corporate Services here at Freedom Park. He will come and give us a brief overview of this event. Mr. Consol Tliane, the stage is yours.
Thank you very much, Metesh, for opening and steering the ship. My duty is quite simple in that I hope to do only two things. One is to add to the voice of welcoming you to Freedom Park on behalf of Council, the CEO, the management, and the entire staff of Freedom Park. And so, Your Excellencies in absentia and those who may be present now, Your Royal Highnesses, my brothers and sisters, and also the speakers who will be sharing their wisdom with us, welcome to this beautiful place. Perhaps the best place to start is to say to those who may not understand, you realize that we sang two anthems. And many people recognize, or all of us recognize the first one instantly. And some might have said, what is this second one? I encourage you, my brothers and sisters, in this age of social media where recordings are available, to download and learn the African anthem. The second one that played is the African Union anthem that refers to the sons and daughters of Africa. It's very important. Freedom Park is a place where we honor the memory of those who laid their lives in order that we can be free. And they do not only come from our country, they come from the entire African continent. They also come from other countries beyond our continent. And so those of you who may have time, I invite you to go around this hall, because it is a hall that contains the names of our countrymen and women, the names of our brothers and sisters from the African continent, and the names of comrades and friends from other countries beyond our continent. We meet here today on the 26th of May, a day after the 25th of May, which is Africa Day proper. We wish to thank you for making time to attend this service on a Sunday, because in our country, you know, usually Sundays are dedicated for religious attendance and to relax with family and friends. But you deemed it fit to be with us. And the reason for us holding it today is that, as you know, this weekend is quite busy. And we had to wrestle with the question, do we for this year postpone Africa Day? And as Tasha said, we chose not to do so. And we said, even if there can be not so many people, it is the symbolism and the depth that matters much more than the numbers. And so thank you very much. Africa Day is celebrated throughout the continent, and indeed the diaspora, as the day on which the Organization for African Unity was founded in 1963, to do two things: to celebrate the freedom of those countries that had already attained freedom at that time, but also to pledge in the struggles for liberation that were sweeping throughout the continent, to say that in these celebrations and in these struggles, the continent shall be one. It transformed itself in 2002 when it changed the name to the African Union. The African Union is still charged with the responsibility of bringing the continent together, of ensuring that there is development and prosperity on the continent. And unfortunately, from time to time, it is called in to mediate in conflicts that are taking place in our continent. The African Union is also charged with pledging solidarity with other peoples throughout the world. And indeed, as Africans, as we meet here today, we continue to pledge solidarity, not only with our brothers and sisters who may be experiencing strife in such areas, and we support them as Sudan, as Mozambique, as the DRC, as the Central African Republic. And we continue to work tirelessly as Africans to say the guns must be silenced in our country. But on our continent. But we also pledge solidarity for other brothers and sisters in the broader human race. And we are proud as a country that we have taken a stand in the atrocities that are taking place to humanity in Gaza. And we hope that the guns will also be silenced there. And so as we meet here today, let us take that as the backdrop against which we are meeting, to say that we have made so much development, or we have achieved so much on our continent, but there is still a lot to be addressed. And our very meeting here is itself a pledge for Africa. It is a pledge for development. It is a pledge for unity. And so, with these few words, I also want to thank our speakers who have agreed to come and share their wisdom with us. Let us listen to them attentively and let us engage with them. I wish, once again, on behalf of Council, management, and the staff of Freedom Park, to welcome you as we join in the theme of the year for the country, celebrating 30 years of freedom, building a better Africa and a better world. My brothers and sisters, sons and daughters of Africa, welcome to Freedom Park.
Thank you very much. Another round of applause. Indeed, the theme of building a better Africa comes at a very suitable moment for our young generation. Often, I'm young, so I can speak about it. So often, our elderly will say, we don't know our roots. You don't know where you come from. You know, and I always look up and say, before I do not know where I come from, it means that I didn't have a teacher to show and tell so that I am not left empty. And my grandmother would be so upset because, in other words, I'm implying that she's not parenting me well. And our relationship grew and instigated in me a very curious mind of learning. So in the token that the HOD has welcomed us with our speakers that are going to share knowledge, one is always intrigued and curious to learn so that I may erase the perception that young people do not know their roots and they do not know where they come from. So I'm very passionate. That's why HOD, when there are events, I want the media, because then the media will educate the young people. We are very fast with the media and the social media, so that young people are knowledgeable and they are equipped. With those few words, I would like to introduce to you the facilitator of today, Mme Babalwa. She is a very special person. She's an author. She's a poet. She's also the founder of an organization called Nyezo. This is an environmental management service company. What is so outstanding about her contribution in the environmental environment is that she helps the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals in Africa through her environmental advisory company. She has challenged me that she has mentored and coached 30 young leaders across Africa. She does not call them young people. 30 young leaders across African countries, so that they may be educated and have a better understanding of who we are as a continent and as people of Africa. Without stealing the show, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to welcome Mme Babalwa on stage so that she can facilitate the discussions with our special speakers. Please, I invite you. Let us learn. Let's generate those questions after they have spoken. Let's engage with them so that we, as we live here, become ambassadors of the knowledge that they would have deposited unto us. Mme Babalwa.
Greetings to the House. Thank you so much, Program Director. Today, I am just excited to be in the midst of these wonderful people I'm sitting with here at the front. We're elders, the wells of knowledge are those who are leading the way in showing the youth and the future leaders how we can make a difference if we are going to have the Africa that we all aspire to have. I have met Dr. Gladys. I am going to introduce her. Gladys Kidibone Mukwena. Siyakwamkela mama. Welcome. Meg Gladys is a great grandmother, is a mother, is an author, a humanitarian, just dedicated her life to do all the wonderful things within the community, just being an active citizen, taking children and those who are still growing up under her wing, making sure that they have an example of how it should be done. She's an author of a book called Resilience in Adversity and Ubuntu. And this book is a collection of short stories and poems from 67 young African writers. A testament to what I've just said about her, that she has dedicated her life to empower the youth so that they can have a voice and make a difference in shaping the Africa that we all want to see. Ma'am, may you please just show the audience your book? It's just an amazing book. Collected 67 young writers to have a voice and contribute towards the development of this book. Thank you, Meg, ladies. And our other contributor today, who's going to share his insights and wisdom towards the development of the Africa that we all want to see, is Mr. Tsepo Charles Matlow. He's also dedicated his life unlocking potential of businesses and transforming leaders, just empowering visionaries to soar. So he's a business coach. And he's gained 21 years of management and executive experience in multiple sectors within South Africa. And 8 years of those he's dedicated in coaching. He has got master's degree in leadership management, postgraduate diploma in coaching psychology, advanced management development program, management advancement program, digital marketing, and executive and management coaching. Thank you so much, Dada, for allowing your skills to be utilized in a way that would leave a legacy and ensure that the youngsters are mentored, are coached, and the entrepreneurs also are shown how to do the business in a way that would contribute to the economic growth and development of the entire world. Thank you and welcome. The opening was given. May I just do something that maybe might not be unique to you, but it's so, it speaks to my heart, where I come from. As umama, ngijwayele to be close to the vibrations of the soil. So mangikhuluma nabo, I will humble myself this way. I will sit this way. I hope I'm not turning my back on anyone. This way, we will converse in a way that will be meaningful to myself, and I hope you also acknowledge and understand why I'm doing it this way. It's part of our diversity and our cultures. The African Union has declared this year, 2024, as the year of education, with a key being the education that we are getting should be inclusive, it should be lifelong, give us lifelong learning, enable us to get relevant learning that would equip us to solve the problems that Africa is facing. It's something else to be smart enough, to be innovative, to import and learn from the world. However, we must understand the problems that we're solving here in Africa. That's why they have said that this learning must be relevant. Ladies, during the opening as well here, we are told that we are celebrating 30 years of democracy and freedom, especially here in South Africa. Let's take it back home now. on reflections, what has worked for you? What is freedom? And in these 30 years, what has worked for you? And what can you share with us today? May you please help us with... okay, thank you.
Jambo. Awusheni. Ah. Dumelang. Me babalwa. Imagine elders and children collaborating to benefit the African community. I guess we would achieve a harmonious balance that serves everyone in the community. In the 30 years of democracy in South Africa, I have experienced the spirit of embracing and teaching that every child is my child. This is an essential practice needed to awaken the teaching that it takes the whole village to raise the child. Motho, ke motho, ka batho. Umuntu, ngumuntu, ngabantu. Certainly, I exist because we all do. And on that note, I say, Ntime, umphele ngwana, deny me, but feed my child. I thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Umntu ngabantu, and it takes a village to raise a child. And that also links to what Ubaba Tsepo is doing, coaching and mentoring, because we're not going to be here forever. We need to show the way to the youngsters and build the future leaders. Thank you so much, Mamek ladies. Thank you for being umama wesizwe. I'm saying that with caution, and it applies to the context we are here today, and not at a national level. We know who has been deemed as umama wesizwe. We know the stalwarts on whose path we are walking. Ungumama wethu, we honor you. Thank you, Mama. Yes, Tatu Sep, may you also now, Tata, just uhlomle, give your own insights and reflect on what has the 30 years been for you. What have you observed as something that worked and those that did not work? And then next we will then reflect on those and map a way forward and get your suggestions on what can we do then about those.
All right. Good morning. Abushen. Mifokile. She really changan shako kwala. Both was about the. All right. I see people are like, hey, I can see at the back like, hi man, this guy, is he the one speaking? So my name is Tsepo. My surname is Matlo. And I think our freedom is beyond economical freedom. Our freedom is beyond financial freedom. Our freedom is beyond political. When we gained freedom, it was not just about a symbol of us winning against apartheid, but it was about how we can start paving a way forward for all of us to coexist in a space where we could not coexist. And that is why where we are today, as we look back, there are a lot of things that we can celebrate. The openness to be who we are as humans. And being able to express our religion, our beliefs, our traditions, and our culture. Freedom is a state of mind more than a physical state of being imprisoned. And that is why in the 30 years, the question that always is stuck with me is, have we shifted from before and after 1994? There's been a lot of shift that I've seen: access to water, access to electricity, access to transport, access to a lot of things that potentially we can take advantage of. But freedom comes with gratitude and appreciation of who we are as Africans. And like Mama said, we are because of who we all are as humans. So it's important for us to start by appreciating everything that we have gained over the last 30 years and start looking at how do we then move from where we are to the next level of the next 30 years. And I'll stop there for now.
Thank you so much. But what I'm hearing, thank you so much. Yes, you seem to be emphasizing that freedom is a state of mind, and that we must know who we are if we are going forward. It just reminds me of just one stanza somewhere where it said, my child, were you born free when spider webs of economic disparity still entangle you? And it came with a call to say, but you need to emancipate yourself from within, meaning your mindset, rather than playing a victim, because we are free, Puti, but we are politically free, but there's another freedom that we still need to attain. We need to be economically emancipated, and our mindsets need to be aligned with that which we want to attain. I love that. And by the way, that comes from one of the poems that I write. You have heard when they were introducing me here, but this is not about me. I was just moved to say that stanza from what Utatu Tsepo was sharing about the importance of us knowing who we are. It seems as if we are going to move and say to the world, here we are Africans. We can't do that if we do not know who we are. We need to know our roots. That will give us our competitive edge. I'm getting excited just hearing your reflections. Moving forward, my ladies, now that you've reflected and you've seen what has worked, what can we do now if we are going to build the Africa that we need? What does Africa need? Is our education system relevant for African problems? Will it aid us to produce experts and leaders who would be equipped to serve Africa? Utatu Tsepo also spoke about lots of things. We have natural resources here. I'm just making an example of the education system because the theme for this year has been declared as education by the African Union. Yes, ma'am. You may just, what do we need as Africans?
You know, the word freedom for me says, we must take ownership of our freedom. I cannot say the government give. As an individual, what am I doing? Because you and I in our little corners, we form part of the government. Now when you talk of education, you remind me of this scenario. I'm just a new adult educator from high school. On day one, I get an audience as this one. And then using the pedagogic principles I acquired that I used in high school, I came in class to say, Lesea lealela. Now, for them to respond, I saw them one by one going out of the classroom. So I asked my colleague, what is wrong with my teaching? I introduced the Setswana sentence, lesea le alela, with the aim of explaining the constituent parts of the sentence. But you know, people just went away. And as time goes by, the numbers dwindled. So it gave me a lesson to say, you cannot teach an adult the way you are teaching a child. Our adults have a wealth of experience. Now, this takes me to my book where I have the round heart. Now, this round heart, what intrigues me is the open door. And the United Nations, the doors of learning shall be open to all. If we open the doors of learning to all, it means we must recognize what the adult comes with in the classroom. For instance, she has a wealth of knowledge on gardening. She has a wealth of knowledge on beadwork and so on and so on. But now, because there's some brainwash in our children, once you tell the child, let's go and do gardening or let's do agriculture, the child feels you are humiliating them. And imagine, every day we eat. You know, I am proud to say I am eating garlic and chili from my garden. So if I don't have money to go to Pick and Pay, I have my Pick and Pay in the yard. So I would say, let us unlearn. You know, let us unlearn the memorizing. Jan van Riebeeck came here in 1652. So what? Let's relearn and adapt to our day-to-day situations. I thank you.
I'm going to agree with Mama because I do a lot of coaching for small businesses in the country. And what I'm finding, especially talking about education, is that older people or elderly people do not have people to transfer skills to. Because our young people are leaving the villages and townships and they're going to the city for the corner office, for the desk, and for the chair. Recently, I finished a program in Musina and also Bochum. And I'm starting to get encouraged by young people who are going into agriculture, young people who understand that we need to eat. When we go to the shops, we are buying from the same people that we once said they cannot do anything for us. Majority of jobs are created in the private sector, and yes, government has created jobs. You have to go to school, go to university or college, get qualifications, and go and get a job. But there's a cycle, and I'm not sure if we all know the cycle. The cycle is you are born, you go to school, you get a job, you work, you get married, you have children, you buy a car, you buy a house, you go into debt, then you save to retire. When you retire, you take your retirement money, you pay the debts, then you wait to die. Is that the only thing that we came on earth to do? We compete in terms of who's wearing the most expensive clothes, who has the most expensive phone, car, house. But when the time comes to perish, what we know today will not be known by those that come after us. What knowledge are we sharing which is not in the textbook? And I think these are the things that we need to start talking about. The Africa we are talking about is not the Africa of wearing American clothes. It is the Africa of being able for us to create and buy from our own people. A lot of small businesses die because we do not support them. We do not buy from them. But we buy from the big distributors, and our own people continue to suffer. And that is why we need to encourage our own children to go back into what we left when we got this freedom. We stopped the agriculture, we stopped the teaching, we closed colleges, but we forgetting that that is where we're supposed to be. Now, everybody wants to come to Gauteng. I was in the Eastern Cape last week. The other week I was in the Western Cape. When I was in the Western Cape, I found out that we had a lot of Eastern Cape people there and Northern Cape people there working. I was in the Eastern Cape. We're starting to see people from inland going to the big cities there. So there's always a move, and our communities are going to become empty if we do not go back to the basics, to the basic. The basics that says that we can provide for ourselves. So what we should be looking at is not just about degrees, diplomas, and masterses, but it should be about sharing knowledges and skills that our own children can start creating jobs for themselves and for their peers. We are going to school to get degrees, to get a corner office, more than getting qualification and experiences to be able to create opportunities for ourselves. So young people has to now come together and say, can we create opportunities together? There's nothing wrong with going and dancing to amapiano, getting drunk. There's nothing wrong. I will not discourage it because it's already happening. Young pregnancies, it's already happening. What we should be saying is, can we go but come back all the time to doing something that is worthy? There's nothing wrong with dancing. We have to embrace our culture that we lost long time ago. How do we go back to our traditions, to our ways of doing things in a way that can help us to be able to trace our footsteps? Our children will not have a culture to follow. Our children will not have a tradition to follow. Our children will not have beliefs because everything is changing in front of us. And we then say our children are ill-disciplined because when we discipline them, there is laws that protect them against us as parents. We need to find ways to take back our ownership, not just of land, because when we are given the land, we cannot do anything on the land. The ownership that we should take back is teaching our children about our own ways.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. May we give him a round of applause. And I will hand over to our program director, Tesh, for facilitating questions and answers from the floor. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, I must announce that we are live on YouTube. We are live. We are there in the media. So the whole South Africa and the world, actually, because of technology, the world is watching you. So we have learned. You need to show that we are clever Africans. May we have questions? Anybody who say, I have a question, a comment, you want to participate, you want to ask our speakers a question? This is an opportunity. You can show by raise of hand. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. My name is Tamara Bernard Masimul. My question is quite simple. I heard all what you said, but now to implement those things, I think first thing first, like Mama said, is to start with the children. And most importantly, I was looking at our education system because nowadays, all our children are learning things in English mostly. That is number one. Not their, their mother language. Number two, some of the subjects in school have to have something to do with what we want to implement. Like when a child is being taught about a locust, a tortoise, things like that. I don't know. I don't see the importance of that. Instead of teaching them about manual work, how to create and be creative for them so that they can use their skills to empower themselves economically. So the curriculum, our curriculum, I mean, is the most important thing we must start with if we have to get back to the basics. And then the children must know and learn their culture. Because nowadays, they are too much in social media. And what they copy is from the outside world. If you can monitor them thoroughly, because it seems our culture, when we have to do things like in our culture, is like to undermine ourselves. That's what is in their mindset. It's implemented. And then the thing of like gardening, learning them about gardening at schools, it's no more there. Huh? How can a child must learn from the onset, from when he starts at grade R or something, with a trade and things like that. Why? Because we learn them so much things in such a way that when he reach at an age of 16, 17, 18, maybe he's doing grade 12 or stuff, that's when they start to learn about trades or maybe the profession they want to follow and stuff like that, whereas their brains are already tired and they are matured and they start to see life differently. So my main this thing is that if we start maybe from the onset, when the minors are still at preschools and stuff, and learn them these things, it will be more important. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is the issue of language, indigenous languages,
Yes.
and the educational system in terms of the incorporating the cultures, the heritage into the curriculum. That stands out. Any other person before I give back to the speakers? I'm asking that we be brief, very, very, very brief. Anyone else who would want to contribute to the discussion? Okay, I think this round you may address the issue of language and the educational system.
All right, thank you. Yes, Gladys, I'll give that to you. What I'm moved more by here is the issue of where is indigenous language or indigenous knowledge in the designing of the curriculum for our children.
As we are reflecting on the 30 years of democracy, it's a time of relearning. When the doors of learning were open to all of us, some of us saw English as the thing. But charity begins at home. The first school for every child, it is their home. So it comes from our home to say, it's good to learn your English at school, but when you come here, we are tongas, but now, I think as parents, we tend to encourage our children to say, listen to this child reading, say it's at a funeral, and then he's giving a tribute. Can you just imagine? And you know, it hit hard on us because our counterparts, the English, the Afrikaner, they can never throw away their languages. they add on with Sepedi and so on. So as we are relearning, let's remember our heritage is our pride, and let's be proud of our heritage. Thank you.
I think the issue that is talking about of handwork is very important, and we need to take it serious. We need to go back to schools and look at re-engineering processes, look at renewal, or maybe starting again. Because it's 30 years where we lost out on manual skills, on technical skills. People cannot do anymore. And I agree that from primary school, we need to now have our children learning how to do something, so that by the time they get to high school, they can make decisions about what to become. We need to move away from when our children get to grade 12, they are confused about what to become. And they just want to go to university, come back. We have a high number of unemployment, educated people who cannot create anything with their qualification. So you've gone, you've graduated, but you can't really use it for anything than a job. We need people to gain more skills with their qualifications in order for them to create businesses where they can be able to employ each other. So I agree with Ntate that we need to push for skills development, skills transfer, and focus more on teaching people how to make money at a young age. Because our survival is not about making money, but the reason we survive to make money is because it becomes the only thing that drives us, to look good, to feel good, to be seen by others. So I think we need to really take it back and say, how do we start again? And I agree that it will take Department of Education and others to start introducing this back in our schools so that we can start from there. And I agree with me that we need to also, as parents, become present and start finding ways to teach our own children so they can also learn from us. So at least the little that we can do is to create legacies that would live beyond our life.
Just a little addition, I'm looking at having, models like community-based education and training. The teacher is having the theory, we respect that. Now imagine taking the practice or the training from Abu Gogo Mahlangu with beadwork to say, as the teacher, I've given this person art and craft, I've given them the theory, and then Gogo Mahlangu comes with the practicals. I think it would really take us far in life. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Let's give them a round of applause. They have given us wonderful insights. They've reflected, they've given us wisdom and insights into what can we do going forward, and complementing that with what the floor has also shared. Thank you so much, Tata. So we have an assignment on our shoulders. Something also is being put on Department of Education, especially on the curriculum, making sure that Abo Dada are also part of the designs of that curriculum, so that we can see our culture being embedded in in what our children are being taught in schools. Thank you so much. Is there another? Oh, we still have a contribution. Thank you so much.
I had seen two hands earlier on,
thank you.
Especially when you touched the issue of, skills. And I think you intrigued a lot here in the audience to say perhaps you're giving highlights of how we could address unemployment. Instead of queuing to be employed by somebody, we could be businessmen and women and actually be a solution. So I noted two people. I would like her to start, and then I'll give the gentleman in the front.
Thank you very much. Well, mine is not really a question, but I was just excited, or perhaps very happy with the comment that you made, saying that we are living in an era where our young people can be anything that they want in life. I think there was really a time when a young person would actually come to their parents and say, I want to be an entrepreneur. And it was the same parents that would tell you, no, you have to be a doctor. You have to be a teacher. Because, or even if you just want to venture into agriculture, because remember, if let's just say, for example, you want to be in agriculture, you end up staying in that rural community or whatever it is. It's normally the Christmas times when now your colleagues, your fellow young people now are coming from Johannesburg, like you've rightly put it. Now they're bringing in clothes and all these nice things to your parents. And you, on the other hand, are there, and then your parents can see those things. And then the next thing is you have to be like John. You have to be like Mary. He's a doctor. He's a teacher. Go to town, and then you have to go there. So really, I think it's a good conversation, like what you said, that now young people, we can see them. It's okay for you to be I'm a piano dancer, or whatever it is that you want to be, and also the issue of entrepreneurship. So yeah, it was just a comment from me.
Thank you, sis.
Can I stand up? Okay. Okay, thank you. My name is Jongi. Glass was invited by my sister here to come here. I'm a sociologist and a historian. I was reflecting to my brother about some of the challenges you highlighted. My observation, maybe as a sociologist, is that our biggest challenge in Africa, which we don't want to admit, is the deep-seated psyche of colonial mentality. We pretend that it's not there, yet, and we don't want to confront it. And when we talk about it, we become uneasy. That is our biggest problem. You go to Southern Africa, East Africa, Central Africa, West Africa, North Africa, it's the same problem. And how do you see it? It's very easy. One is the consumer mentality you mentioned. We consume, we don't produce. We're only as good as you can see us. We drive nice cars, we're like this, nothing after that, because we consume. Two is the self-hatred, where we see our young people ordering expensive Brazilian hair. Because what they see in the mirror, they hate it. So they have to put someone's hair to look better. I know it's not nice to say this, but it's a reality. Three is the pull-down syndrome. You look at people who work in government across the African continent, institutions and everything, and Africans are like this on each other's throat. We suffocate each other to death. And then the last one is the self-destructive tendencies. The things that we do are very self-destructive. My last point, therefore, is unless we are willing to confront that, this catastrophe will continue unabatedly. Thank you.
Over to you, ma'am. You started it.
Just a comment, Mama,
Okay.
on what has been
You've
said.
said a mouthful, Ntate. You have said a mouthful. At the moment, I want to give an example of my lovable institution, UNISA. They are bringing the African element into the modules. They are taking out colonialism, sorry. But it will take some time. It will take some time. But I think, as I said, if we in our little corners do something about our heritage, I think we will get there. It might not be in 10 years' time, but generations to come will bear the fruit. Thank you.
I know you are very passionate about this aspect of consumerism.
Yes. Yeah, no, I was thinking, do we have more time? I realized time is up. But the reality, with all honesty, is that we are self-destructing, and I really agree with you. So when I wrote my book, Freedom, which was launched on Freedom Day this year, it was actually influenced by the self-hate. This year, one of the young people in Alexandra killed herself. She found out that she was conceived through rape, and her uncle raped her mother. And her mother left Alexandra and never came back. And when she asked the grandmother, who's my father, the grandmother refused to say. And she hanged herself and she died. And it talks to what you were saying about self-loving. So the freedom now takes me back to where we started, Mom, that it now has to do with how we think and our mindset, apart from everything else that we said, and how we can start supporting each other. My mother was raped by a white man, and that is why when I was introducing myself at the back, I saw Tepo. So my mother is black and my father is white. And when I discovered that I was conceived through rape, I realized the pain that a lot of people go through, because I went through that. And the day when I realized that, yes, I was conceived that way, but I'm not that, I needed to confront that situation for me. And that is why this book is about the liberty of the mind, body, and soul. And I'm saying, let's liberate ourselves first and start liberating our own children and start liberating our own communities, start supporting ourselves in the communities, and realize that we are the greatest resources for each other. While we're fighting each other, while we're hating each other, while we have jealousy over each other, while we self-judge and judge others, we are distracting ourselves. And we are creating wounds, we are creating curses, we are creating things that will destroy our children and our grandchildren. As Africans, we grow up knowing that we have relatives. You will find that you have 100 relatives, 200 relatives, but today, families are getting destroyed. We don't visit each other anymore. The Africanness that we had is dying. So let's go back there in the celebration of 30 years and say, how do we reconnect backwards into the dots, into our culture, into our traditions? It's not just about Africa Day, where we wear African clothing. Who said this is actually African clothing? What happened to our way of doing things, which was African? So let's go back and start again. Find ways to teach our children, and let's not die with the knowledge that we have. Let's serve others.
Thank you. That was mouthful. Thank you for those closing remarks. I won't dilute that with any more comments. It has been said. We've all heard. Thank you so much, Mac ladies. Enkosi Tate Tsepo. All I can just say, as I am going to be sitting down, may we give them a round of applause again. Thank you. And I will say to you, zenihambe ke mbewu yomzantsi Afrika nisikhonzele ezizweni zenindande njengenkonjane ningalibali thixu nxembe niphethe odondolo ukuze nive ngabo ubunzulu beziziba ukuze umhlambi ungoyeli zenikhumbule ukuba ikhona imilambo ukhona umlambo omde iNile River to quench your thirst. You shall find rest under the big baobab tree and listen to the beautiful music of the birds of this country. You shall walk with a spring in your step like the springbok, the national animal of South Africa. Thank you for your insights.
I heard it from this side and it provoked something in me. Ladies and gentlemen, that's actually becomes a demonstration of what one has learned today. I think my biggest lesson today is that one should never undervalue what they have and overvalue what they do not have, or that which somebody else is presenting. Our Africanness and who we are is of greater value than what we are trying to reach out to, causing ourselves a lot of harm. And I think for me, that's a lesson I take as a young person. And ladies and gentlemen, I had warned you that you're going to learn many lessons, and I want to thank all our speakers for the wonderful wisdom that they have shared. Without wasting much of the time, I would like to call the HOD of Corporate Services, Mr. Consort Leane, to come and do the vote of thanks.
When my colleagues suggested this short discussion, what I didn't tell them is that I had a lot of doubts. But in my mind, I said, you know, as a leader, you must trust your colleagues. And I said to myself, well, we'll see what will happen. I'm with you 100%. Knowing that if this was going to be a spectacular failure, I was going to take the blame. But if it was going to be a success, I'm now claiming the glory. So thank you very much to my colleagues who put this. It was intended to be like this. Short, sharp, straight to the point, light touch. But you know, such things become appetizers. I heard Abuti Tsepa saying, I wish we had more time. Surely Mama Gladys is also saying that, and my brother who is a sociologist is yearning for more discussions. But what it has then done is that it has provoked in me, and surely we must have an internal discussion about taking some of these ideas that have come out into and packaging them into some form of a workshop. The issue of coloniality that my brother sociologist has mentioned is always the elephant in the room that we are never discussing. And it manifests itself in so many ways on a daily basis, in our interactions, in our thinking, in our articulation, and in our doing of things, how we view ourselves. Mama Gladys has just shared with you how one, and I can speak freely about it because it's a public institution, so I can give them free advertisement, how the University of South Africa and many other universities and academics like my brother and Mama Gladys are engaged in efforts to decolonize the curriculum, to decolonize everything. But I can share with you, before I came here, I was at UNISA, the institution that Mama is talking about. How, when you talk about decolonization, people will say, but what are we talking about? And the resistance. And what is much more painful is that the resistance to decolonization, some of the fiercest resistance comes from the people who are victims of colonialism. That is what most writers have talked about. The love, the internalized self-hatred, and the fear of freedom that is ingrained in our minds and in our hearts. So let us continue the conversation. The importance of heritage and our knowing of self is very important. The importance of indigenous knowledge systems that we have so much discarded and that we must rediscover. And to crown it all, the reference to education broadly. And that is why I'm saying we must have further conversations we do have within Freedom Park a department, Heritage and Knowledge. And one of the divisions in there has to do with education, because our aim is to take that which Freedom Park is about and negotiate its integration into the curriculum so that we can teach our children about the epochs of resistance that we have gone through, the pre-colonial history, because our history did not come in 1652. It is about teaching about conquest. It is about teaching about colonialism. It is about teaching about slavery, that we had slavery in South Africa, because often we think only of the transatlantic slavery and never think about the slavery that was in this country. It is about teaching about the liberation struggle. It is about teaching our children to appreciate who they are, where they come from, and so that they can imagine a future that is informed by their history and their being. So thank you very much, Mama Mokoena. Thank you very much, Ntate Tsepo. Thank you very much, my brothers and sisters, for this short, sharp reflection that is but an appetizer. My brothers and sisters, sons and daughters of Africa, as our anthem says, thank you very much for honoring us. May God continue to bless you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. My shining glory moment ends here. But I want to thank you for allowing me to shine and for listening to my voice. For me, it's an invitation now to our arts and craft exhibition. Please love and embrace Africa that Freedom Park has presented to you. Thank you so much for coming. My journey ends here. Thank you.